We have made it to the last episode of Dynasty Theory before the kickoff of the 2021 season. No, not the last episode.
I got worried.
No,
you fired me.
No, of course not. I'm your host, John Bauer. Follow me on Twitter at the Bauer Club. I'm joined by Dan Lamagna. That is at FF Coach Dan. What's going on, Dan?
Man, feeling your energy tonight and matching it here. I couldn't be any more stoked. I mean, from tonight, final episode of Hard Knocks, to Thursday Night Football, despite my boy Zach Martin probably being out. But guys, I am most excited about tonight's episode. Right now, at this point, 17 Dynasty teams in. That's chump change to I know how many Dynasty teams you guys have. But also 3 redrafts, Scott Fish Bowl 11, 41 underdog drafts, 20 DraftKings drafts, DFS in process. OMG, week 1 is here. Let's do it.
You're talking about best ball, and you guys wrote me into that, and Underdog wrote me in. This is the last week for 2021 to get that instant $25 bonus. Use code Theory, click our link. It's in the show description on YouTube and whatever platform you typically listen to Dynasty Theory. Get the instant $25 deposit bonus on a $10 deposit. You can't beat it. You can't beat it. It's free money. We're also joined by Mitch Sorensen. That's at DynoMC on Twitter. What's going on, Mitch?
What's going on? So I was dreading tomorrow night, right? Because what do you do? So I'm actually going to take the oldest. I'm going to go see Shang-Chi. I actually saw it over the weekend, but he doesn't know that I saw it. So I'm going to take him so he could see it too. But
he's not watching tonight. He's not in the chat. He's not listening.
Sometimes he jumps in, but I will say it's an excellent show. It is so good. So if you have just bored tomorrow, go and see it. It's well worth the money.
We're going to be sitting here like little kids on Christmas Eve or the night before your birthday through the Patreon. And if you sign up this week, I'm feeling generous. Sign up for the Patreon. Get September free. Try it out. We will refund you instantly. It's $5 per month after that. If you don't like it, bounce. But I will say, people tend to stick around. They stick around. We have the free Discord. We have all the extra goodies there on the Patreon. So check it out. Again, if you don't like it, we're going to refund you your money and you don't have to come back. You don't have to come back, but you will. So tomorrow night, we are doing, through the Patreon, through the Discord, we are doing a live watch party for the game, and I am so excited. I am so excited for that. Just all of us jumping on there, BSing, watching the game. It's going to be a good time. So hopefully, if you check this out before Thursday night, you're able to jump in there. But we do have a few things we want to talk about tonight before we get to week 1. And this is possibly one of my favorite episodes of the year. And I feel like I say that often, but this really is. Mitch, this is the 3rd time we've done this episode. Dan, I think this is our 2nd with you. But the culmination of the offseason, spreadsheet football, my favorite time of the year, is coming to an end. Point scoring season is upon us. But we want to recap. We want to take a look at the offseason that was and kind of share some of our thoughts as things have progressed. And Dan, I want to start with you. Throughout this offseason, because it's been another crazy one, 2 in a row with COVID and all that, I was going to say good stuff, all that bad stuff going on. For you, what was the most impactful offseason news, story, injury, whatever, from a dynasty perspective for you?
Yeah, man, 2 years in a row, we started this adventure. The season concludes and we start looking ahead and then we start diving into contracts. And 2 years in a row, I just stoked and trying to figure out the quarterback mystery. And it didn't let me down. And, I want to say if you want one player, it would be Deshaun Watson. But ultimately, it's all the starting quarterback competitions, which we are still figuring out entering week 1, between the competitions of Cam and Mack, Teddy Bridgewater and Drew Lock, Winston and Hill, Dalton and Fields, Lance and Jimmy G, the whole Tua, Hurts, Darnold, is their job stable? It's been a roller coaster. And I know the 3 of us made a lot of trades around it, as did our listeners. We've got a pretty good grasp right now. We hit some victories going after some of those quarterbacks. We've, had our defeats with some of them, and we're still going into week 1, following some of them closely.
I got to piggyback there before I throw it over to Mitch for his thoughts. But for me, I thought the buy and sell windows that were constantly opening and closing throughout the offseason, just like Dan mentioned. What is going on in Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers? How does that impact Aaron Jones, Devontae Adams, Robert Tonyan, Jalen Hurts? Is his job secure through 2021? Beyond that, still something we're trying to figure out. Deshaun Watson, what's going on with him? We still don't know. The Saints, is it going to be Taysom? Is it going to be Jameis? Is it going to really help Alvin Kamara? Is it going to help Michael Thomas? Then the injury took place. But so many things that, just like Dan said, that, yeah, there's players we acquired, there's players we moved. Maybe it was a week early or a week late, and then boom, value spikes and drops. So there's a lot going on, but it was just such a crazy and fun off season from a dynasty perspective because of all the ebbs and flows that we certainly saw. Mitch, did I steal your thunder? I hope I didn't.
No, it's so Dan kind of did, but we're all on the same wavelength there. Mine was the rookie QBs coming in, because speaking from the dynasty aspect of it, this rookie class fixed your quarterback issues if you were even a little bit active during the rookie drafts.
We think it fixed them. We think
it should. Well, value-wise, I think you're fine. I think all these
right.
guys could be bad quarterbacks this year, and they will still have dynasty value moving forward to where we have guys like Goff, Matt Ryan, those old Ben's out, and those guys, they're going to continue to drop. I think Zach Wilson could go out and be the quarterback 32 on this season, and he'll still be a top 20 dynasty quarterback going into next year.
Agreed.
And that's value-wise, and you could just trade them from there. You don't have to love these guys. You don't have to love the players. Mac Jones, I know you weren't the highest on him, but John all of a sudden has like 40% rostership of Mac Jones now. But that's what you can do in years like this, to where the quarterbacks were so good that you could fix all of your teams. If you had two teams, you have two teams now that have all the depth in the world for quarterbacks. That's why you don't draft Devontae Smith over him. You just don't do it, because there was nothing Devontae Smith could do in the preseason that would elevate him over what Zach Wilson can do just by showing up and playing.
I went back, and I do this typically with episodes like this, where it's an episode in review. And I went back to our rookie draft episode. We did a 2-round mock just between the three of us, and it was the week before the NFL draft. And it was music to my ears. 109, I took Mack Jones. No joke. Go back and listen to it. It's April, whatever it was. And in the description, it is the 2-round mock. Mitch instantly goes, "Oh, I hate that pick."
I did at the time.
But now here we are, and that's what we're talking about. And that's kind of one of my biggest value hits. Mac Jones was my quarterback 5. He wasn't a quarterback I was thrilled about. But at that point in the draft, especially me, Mitch, who was a little bit more comfortable, and maybe wrongfully so, especially in leagues where I had Mr. Jimmy Garoppolo. But I had situations where I needed to fix my quarterback room. And Mac Jones, just like you said, from a value standpoint, maybe not from a production standpoint, which remains to be seen, but from a value standpoint, he's a player that I can rely on. And if I want to move him, I can, and rely on him from a value perspective. The only other thing for me that was kind of crazy this offseason, the high-end running back injuries for these young players. Cam Akers, J.K. Dobbins, Travis Etienne, all over the tail end of the offseason. And I know for me personally, I've gone out and acquired them at certain prices in certain leagues, certain situations, and there's people looking to move them right away. But that landscape shifting news for all three of those players really hit a lot of people hard.
100%, man. And I think JB and Mitch, if I could go back in time, if I had that fantasy time machine that we all wish we had sometimes, I think there's a lot of lessons learned in here. I think like the old ball coach in me says, hey, you should have just known, like these coaches are saying, hey, open competition, good for morale. Let the rookie earn their wings. Every rookie earned their wings. Mitch talked about this in a recent episode there of Dynasty Theory. Like, you should have just hopped on those rookies. We know they're going to get the job, some sooner than others. Should have seen that there's no way Cam Newton was going to read, but he looked terrible last year. I mean, you really look back. What was the odds of him winning that job? Teddy Bridgewater, if you're following the money, they went after Teddy. They brought him in. It probably kind of showed their hand a little bit, but they kept an open competition. I know, JB, it hurts me a little bit there.
I'm covering my ears. I'm covering my ears.
Jameis Winston, Taysom Hill. Jameis Winston's thrown so many more footballs in his career than Taysom Hill. Like, so I wish I was a little bit more bullish on some of those situations, but the roller coaster ride was really what's happening with Watson, what's happening with Aaron Rodgers. That really took us a while. And Aaron Rodgers was probably all about nothing. Here he is back in Green Bay.
It's funny because another episode, I need to get a life. I really do. But I'm going back through old episodes earlier today, and the one was about quarterbacks early in the offseason. This had to be, it was early in the offseason, but we talked about quarterbacks that were overvalued, undervalued. We were targeting, we were looking to move. And Dan, the first one you talked about was Jameis Winston as a player that you were, hey, this is the guy that I feel, not great about, but pretty good. So hopefully the listeners bought into that, even though Dan might not have himself, but we're all kicking ourselves with that lost value.
That's what I said. I was like half in. I saw the rationale at the time, and then too much of that beat writers, this guy's playing this week. This guy's getting the first team reps. I just bought too much into it and just didn't get aggressive enough. I did take some stabs at getting Winston, but I should have been more aggressive than I was. And
we're not saying it plays out the way we're hoping, that Jameis Winston goes out there and lights the world on fire. But Mitch, you brought it up. It's not a beginning point and an end point, and that's the value. Yep. We have an upswing here. We have an opportunity to move on from Jameis Winston. Now, what happens if he goes out week 1 and finds Marquez Callaway for 2 touchdowns, finds Adam Troutman and Jawan Johnson, Alvin Kamara, Tony Jones for a touchdown? Boom, instant value spike, especially tied to Sean Payton. So that's what we're going to be talking about here throughout the rest of the offseason. Big value hits that we had early in the offseason compared to now, and then some where we took some knocks. So Mitch, a hit, a player that their value took a hit. You were looking at early in the offseason. You were like, this is a guy I'm going to acquire because his value is going to rise, or at least maintain, and it just didn't play out that way.
Anyone who watched that rookie draft show knows who I'm going to bring up. It's James Robinson. I was convinced Urban Meyer wasn't stupid enough to want Travis Etienne, but this is nothing against Etienne. I mean, Etienne, I think, is still going to be a good pro. But as that team was made, that team needed help other than running back. But no, he was like, you know what? I need to have him, and he drafted him in the first round. And then all the James Robinson that I had from the previous year, some that I acquired in startups before the draft, I mean, they came crashing down. I mean, you were pretty lucky to get a second for him at that point. And now he's kind of, through injury, of course, has risen back up to kind of a second, not quite a first. He's just in that weird neighborhood. But James Robinson is definitely the guy to where I way overdrafted and probably had way too many shares of him. And it came crashing down in one night, and that was rough. That was really rough.
But if you did hang on to him, like we talked about several weeks ago, whenever the Travis Etienne news broke, we got a second chance, and I've taken advantage of that.
Yes.
And was it good process along the way? Certainly not. But those are things that we look to correct. And we always talk about processes and ways that we can improve that. For me, before I throw it over to Dan and Mitch, I talked about him off the air, and I've talked about him in the Discord so many times. But a tight end, okay, I'm in a tight end premium league. If I don't get George Kittle, if I don't get Kelsey, Waller, Pitts, even the Hawkinson, Goddard fan, there's a player that I feel okay with throwing out there every week, Evan Ingram. And that is a value. And I was getting him at decent parts of startups, and I felt good about that. So I wasn't overpaying, but his values continue to drop. And now the injury, is he going to be ready for week 1? People were skeptical. So I'm starting to set my lineups for week 1, which is taking quite some time. And I'm like, got to get Ingram out. Free plug for a free product that we always use, dynastyplanet.com. Mm-hmm. I would be lost without that resource. And it tells you, it shows a little exclamation point, a little yield sign if a player is questionable or out and you have them in your lineup, instead of going through all of your leagues on MFL, on Sleeper. It shows you who is there, and Evan Ingram's that guy. I'm like, I got to pull him out of some of these lineups. But I think even to an extent, those mid-range tight ends, think about how much hype was around Cole Kmet?
Adam Troutman.
Okay, well, he's on my notes here, so get out of here. Adam Troutman. And yeah, now the injury for Troutman, but he was losing snaps preseason. He was losing routes to Juwan Johnson. So it's those mid-tier tight ends that we all think, hey, this guy's going to make the jump. He's going to make the jump. But is there really a difference between him and tight end 20, 24? And we're going to get to that a little bit later in the show with some tight ends and their values. But that was a value miss for me that I thought, oh, Ingram's going to bounce back.
JB, while you're on it, give me a 30-second take on Mr. Juwan Johnson. I just need to hear something. He's kind of floating in my rankings, and I don't know what I think of him.
For dynasty purposes, I'm not going out and like actively acquiring him just because I think there is that hype around him now and people have seen, hey, maybe Adam Troutman's not the guy. But, you know, if I can get him as a throw in a deal, you know, it's somebody I'm more than happy to have. And I think we're going to get some solid red zone production. I think we're going to get that utilization, and hopefully Jameis Winston and Juwan Johnson can get that connection and build that rapport. But I do think he offers red zone and end zone upside.
If I had to plant a flag on a player this year, my only plant would be plant.
Wait, what?
Flag plant. Yeah, that's just a weird.
Well, where are you planting your flag?
Well, if I had to do it, I would be doing it on Juwan Johnson. I just think I picked him up for fab in every single league. And I mean, it was for minimal fab too. I mean, he was just pick him up. No one even tried to get him. And he's just the guy to where, like Logan Thomas last year, he's running all the routes we care about. That's all I need to know. I don't care if he blocks. If the coaches want him to run routes while they're passing, okay, I want him on my team.
You know what it kind of feels like to me, and I don't think it's going to be the extreme that we saw with, you know, the touchdown rate, but going into last season, Mitch and I, we like Jay Sternberger, and then Robert Tonyan ends up getting the routes and the snaps that we care about, and is a top 6 tight end on like 60 some targets or 70 targets. And I could kind of see that being a situation where we see some lines from Juwan Johnson, 3 targets, 2 catches, 30 yards, and a touchdown. And if you have to start him, you're thrilled with that, whether it's typical PPR, half PPR, tight end premium. That's what you're looking at that point from your tight end. So I don't mind him, Dan.
I think he's a good one to mention because I think we will see him on Sunday, and he's someone I'll be watching because I need to see more of. But, you know, unless you were in our Discord, I know we had some talk about Mr. Johnson and his value there, but I think there will be people on Sunday that are like, who is this guy? So hopefully they hear this episode and they're seeing where he fits into their season plans.
All right, well, we strayed away a little bit here, and we could talk all night. You can tell I missed a week of the show. You can tell because I am revved up. And I said this 2 weeks ago too. Like, I was so excited for that episode, but I'm even more excited for this episode. And it just builds and builds and builds. And because the 2021 season is upon us, and Mitch is planting plagues or whatever it was.
I'm doing something. I don't know what it is.
You're doing something, all right. So, Dan, you know, this is the last one here that we're going to talk about that, you know, you took a value hit early in the offseason. There was a player that you liked. Let's turn this around from negative to positive, but let's one more hit here.
I would say, don't I get to give my hits here, man? I got some pain. No. This is a therapy session for me, JB. I need to vent where I blew it, man.
No, but we're going to get out of negative town after this.
All right. So my negative town wrap up. We hit quarterbacks. You know, I had a share or two of Taysom Hill and Drew Lock I may have went after, although I know I'm preaching to the choir, JB, with Drew Lock there. I'm surprised you didn't vent more about that. Running back position, you know, I have a share. I know I traded for Melvin Gordon in one league, and you know, the Javonte Williams is, I think, the guy, gonna be the guy. I'm not feeling too warm and fuzzy about Melvin. My boy Uncle Lenny, I'm a little bothered about with Gio Bernard being in there right now, because part of that value was being the guy that gets the catches on third downs. You know, I believe he still gets the red zone work, but I like the red zone work and the reception, so I definitely took a few hits on Lenny. Hopefully, it could still work in my favor. We'll see. But my biggest probably hit. You know, I did have James Robinson, depending on the week, in my notes, Mitch. I thought that was a good one. But Kadarius Toney, I'm just not feeling warm and fuzzy because I went hardcore Kadarius Toney second round. And there's some talent in this draft that was passed up at that point. So again, it's one I'm hoping turns around, bet on talent, but definitely not feeling too hot about it right now.
All right. Well, I lied because I have a few names I want to rattle off. And
oh no, this is going to take a while, guys.
No. Hey, I don't have that many misses here in terms of value, but I didn't mention initially because it was the price I paid. And luckily, Dan, a lot of the value misses that you had that didn't rise in value aren't necessarily killing you. So Leonard Fournette, Kadarius Toney, yeah, it hurts because you had that expectation and it didn't really pan out. And it could change once they hit the field on Sundays. It very well could change, but we're talking strictly from a value perspective. So for me, it was those late quarterbacks that I was looking at: Jimmy Garoppolo, Drew Lock, those quarterbacks that were going after quarterback 32 range. So, hoping for that good story. It didn't pan out necessarily, but who knows? Something could take place there in Denver. Garoppolo could get another shot, or maybe we see Garoppolo's playing well and he sticks around for the year and I can unload him somewhere along the way. Miles Sanders, I picked up a ton of shares of him and his value has dropped. Mitch, you and I talked about him off the air. Juju, I'm still acquiring him, but his value's been slipping and I was picking him up early in the offseason. And the last one, Kenny Gallaudet, when he was still with Detroit, I was making moves to acquire him, shipped off some 2022 firsts, and I would give anything to get that first back for Kenny Gallaudet, something I'm not thrilled about right now. So those were the value misses throughout the offseason, players that we've gone out and acquired that we were really looking at. But now let's go to positive town here, Mitch. The biggest value wins, because we did have those gains throughout the offseason.
I'm bringing up someone who isn't actually a value win yet, but is going to be in the season, I hope. It's Sam Darnold. I think Sam Darnold, for the price you were getting him at all offseason, I mean, there was maybe like a 2-week window to where he was traded to the Panthers to where his price was maybe a little bit more than it is now. But I mean, you could pretty much get him for any 22 first you traded or a 21 first at the time, depending on when you made the trade.
I saw him move before he got traded to Carolina. I saw him get moved for 22 seconds or 2021 seconds. And that's boom, instant profit.
And I just think he's set up very well. We love his pass catchers now. Yep. He still has Christian McCaffrey. The offensive line is horrible, but he has so many weapons that I think they could actually game plan around it. I think Matt Rule can do that. And so he's just the guy to where I know we haven't seen that value bump yet, but he's another guy just like these rookie quarterbacks to where he just has to be average. If he is average this year, he leapfrogs the Matt Darnolds and Ben and everyone else that we've talked about previously.
Matt Ryan,
yes. What did I say?
Matt Darnold. Come on.
Matt Darnold. Well, see, maybe that was his brother who's coming through college now. I don't know.
Hey, both stats US quarterbacks, morph them into one. That's okay. That's okay. No, but that's a good one too. And same thing. If he pops early in the year, you're going to be able to see that rise in value and turn a profit. It's just like we look at those quarterbacks like Sam Darnold, Carson Wentz, and we think, what have you done for me lately? If they can turn it around early in the season, that's what's going to be fresh in people's mind. A guy for me, Mitch, you mentioned it. In February, he was going quarterback 28 in pre-NFL draft startups. Mack Jones. He was my quarterback 5, but he was slipping too damn far for me. And I dropped the D-bomb. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry, but I had to pounce. And you gave me a little too much credit. You said 40% rostership. I think it's a little lower than 30%, but still somebody that I'm thrilled to have because you're not getting him for 1 first today. I don't care if it's 23. It doesn't matter.
Your 30% is different than anyone else's 30% too, because you're talking pushing 100 lineups here.
But that's why and we talked about this in the Discord. I threw out a little exercise and I said, okay, the week before the season, what percent of your leagues are true contenders? What percent are you rebuilding? What percent are you in that middle ground? And I always want to do it on percent because it isn't about, I'm in this many leagues. I know it might come across that way sometimes, but a lot of the point of talking about the number of leagues for me is because I'm going out there, I'm on the ground, and I'm making these moves in actual leagues that cost money, not free leagues, not mocks. So that's the point of it. So I want to do it based on percent all the time, because if you're in 5 leagues, that's just as important as if you're in 1,000, and I think most of our listeners, they fall into like that 3 to 8 range. And I never want to be like, check out this guy, Joe with 3 leagues. Oh my God. So that's why I always talk in percentages, but Mack Jones for me, instant profit, big value riser throughout the offseason. I hope whenever people listen to that pre-NFL 2-round mock that we put together, they listen about Mack Jones at the back end of the first. I think some people pivoted towards maybe even Trey Sermon, but I'm hoping, I believe that people listened. Dan, value riser for you?
Man, at first I want to say, JB, I wanted to turn your negative into positive, and I think Juju still might be a really sneaky value this year. And JJ Zacharyson probably helped you out today, saying now, by week 3, Gallaudet's value should rise. So maybe you could get that first round pick back. But then you brought up that Mack Jones success, and it stings me that I passed up so many opportunities at Mack Jones fixing quarterback shares. I take my kindness back. But I guess my flag plants are on hits this year that I'm really proud of. Is at the quarterback position starting there. And it is a long offseason, guys. So I give Mitch credit with discipline of just having like one guy he brings up there, man, because we've been at this for quite some time. There were so many quarterback situations where I was in that, Cam Newton rut and Dalton because I had Dak, and then, someone got hurt or whatever the case may be. So I hammered as many shares of Tua and Darnold as I can, and I am feeling excellent about both of those situations. To Mitch's point, I was thinking a lot about the Carolina offense in the last week. I'll talk a little bit more about their sleeper tight end later in this episode, but he is set up where if that offensive line could just be average, I mean, he's got weapons at every single position. You got the best running back in the NFL, a stud receiver in Moore, a stud receiver in Anderson. You got a rookie who looks like a stud. You got 2 tight ends that could play. I mean, they've got depth. They've got a lot of pieces there. So I'm excited about that, and a smart OC. Then running back really quick, Damien Harris and Sony Michel. I mean, I think we had an episode where he says, hey, Sony could get traded. And, I fell for the old Instagram. He was looking good, pumping those squats, man. So I was feeling a little Sony. And then wide receiver, Brian Edwards. I love how his values came up over the course of the season. I went after a few shares, just going back to some feedback from a year ago, thinking, hey, this guy's healthy now. He's got a year under his belt. The Saints, we knew they needed someone to throw to, so I put as many chips in it as I could on Marquise Callaway and Deontay Harris. So it was like 1 out of 2 there, knowing they had to get somebody. My boy McColl, I got to say, like, he's been kind of hard to get in some drafts, harder than I thought. I didn't get as many shares as maybe as I normally could have, but from the shares I did get early, his value is rising as well. And the last one would be Kylan Granson. We started out talking about those deep rookies, and boy, it's been fun watching him bounce around and get traded everywhere and get some good value there.
All 3 of us have tremendous rostership.
I'm not trading him. He ain't leaving my team.
Wait for that spike game if you're looking to trade him. If you're looking to trade him, and I have a few other guys, and I got a little bit lucky with this one from a rookie perspective, but I had Javonte Williams as my running back 2 in this class, and whatever, you look at Travis Etienne, he got injured, but from an overall dynasty perspective, we have seen Javonte Williams rise, whether or not Travis Etienne was healthy, not healthy. And I believe he is somebody that we're going to continue to see rise if we get the production that we expect. So that was one running back 23 in February. So pre-NFL startups. And he's up to 17, 18 now. So we're seeing that movement. Last one for me, and this is more of I'm going to get away from the rookies. If you're a contender, don't try to get him during the season, because now it's too late. It is too late. Austin Eckler. His value is not necessarily risen, but I do think that he's somebody that's going to give you that production. And this is, like Mitch said, Sam Darnold. It hasn't really happened yet. Austin Eckler, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Somebody I've talked about countless times through tweets out there. Somebody asked for a hot take somewhere, and I said Austin Eckler, top 5 PPR running back. And that's how our projections had it come out too. And I do believe fully that Austin Eckler, somebody that has really been getting involved with the fantasy community, is somebody I can trust. It's somebody that I can look at and say, yeah, Austin has my best interest in mind.
Unlike Josh Jacobs, who does not?
Yeah. Mitch, I was talking about Javonte. I was talking about Austin. Saw a little smirk on your face. Were you going somewhere?
No, I was agreeing.
All right. I always got to check. Any other big value wins from you guys throughout the offseason? Kind of our 2021 offseason in
I
recap.
think we named about half the league, so I think we're okay.
But what I did with this, I went through my rostership. Specifically, I started off with leagues that the startup was this offseason, who had high rostership. But then I looked at different trades, and these are players that I have acquired. So it's players that I have brought onto my teams, fully believed in them, and we've either seen a value spike or still TBD, but I fully believe in my man Austin Eckler. And then wide receivers, we didn't mention any for the most part.
We don't care about them.
But I don't think there was much movement. And Mitch, you and I talked about this. And Dan, let me know if I'm off here. But Mitch and I were messaging earlier today, and I was like, I feel like we haven't seen movement across the wide receiver landscape. Take away Michael Thomas, because that's an injury and a very unique situation. Take away Devontae Adams during the time that Aaron Rodgers had question marks. Nobody's really been a crazy riser or faller from the beginning of the offseason to now. Maybe Calvin Ridley a little bit, my man back here. Dan, what are your thoughts on that? Can you think of anybody? You're like, hey, JB, you're forgetting about this guy.
No, I think overall you're right on. There's been like some small spikes. You mentioned Ridley. CD Lamb hit a little one late when Cooper wasn't practicing, and he had the hard knocks extra coverage there, and likable guy. McLaurin had little moments, but nothing big, JB. Judy a little bit, late there when Bridgewater got the job. But then, so the guys I named are more of those bottom ocean guys or middle tier guys that, hey, you got such a good deal on them, and now there's a lot of people talking and trying to acquire them after you already got them at a good value. So nothing big yet, but I do like that you said TBD. There are some guys that I think we're just waiting. They're kind of holding steady. We haven't seen enough. Jonnu Smith's my big guy after all those big tight ends went. I'm expecting a big year out of my boy Jonnu, what I think is an ideal situation. I got enough shares, so I'm banking on it.
You are. Yes, you are. All right, let's move along here. And this is more of planting our flag. So not necessarily anything we've done up to this point in the offseason. We'll transition away from that, but kind of a 2022 look ahead. So it's January 2022. And I know, guys, JB, the season hasn't even started yet, and you're skipping past it already. I know, but bear with me. So I want to start with running backs, Mitch. And I think you were kind of excited about this one. And I didn't even want to guess, I think. Is this the category?
This is. Yep.
All right. So running back currently outside of the top 18 in Dynasty. And I'll read the list out loud just so everybody can, see what we're working with here. But not the outside of the top 18 in Dynasty that will be in the top 12 running backs in January 2022. So look at the top 18. McCaffrey, Dalvin, JT, Barkley, Kamara, Najee, Derrick Henry, Chubb, Zeke, Gibson, Aaron Jones, Swift, CEH, Dobbins still there, Eckler, Mixon, ETN still there, and then David Montgomery. So I ran through that quickly, but those are the top 18 that we're looking at. So Mitch, who is a running back not mentioned there that you think can be top 12 in 4 months?
I'm convinced you guys are cheating. And you're going to be like, I'm going to pick this rookie running back or this rookie running back. I'm like, well, more than likely, yes. Okay, Dan's already throwing it up.
Just before you say the name, I want to write my name down on a Post-it here, okay? Because I don't want to be accused of cheating, because I don't think you're going to know who I'm going to get.
Well, no, I think he was saying we would be cheating because we picked a rookie running back.
Yes.
Maybe.
I think you are going. I'm not going to, because I'm not going to cheat, unlike you guys.
John said no Javonte Williams. That was John's show note rule, I think.
Because first of all, it was a guy that I would have picked, but he's currently 19, running back 19. It looked like according to this ADP, and I just think that's the easy one. And Trey Sermon's an easy one too.
All right, so gonna go with Tampa Bay. I think has the best. Is going to have the most red zone opportunities in the league this year. They have an elite defense. They should turn over the ball a lot. And I think they're going to be able to move the ball really easily with all the skill players they get. So I'm actually going to go with Ronald Jones.
You think he'll be top 12 in Dynasty?
Hold on. I am talking. Just lay off. I know you were on vacation, John, and you can't help it. This is my time right now.
Okay.
It's my time. So Dan actually earlier said, I'm expecting Leonard Fournette to get the red zone opportunities. Well, the truth is Ronald Jones actually had more than Fournette did. And it wasn't by a little, it was actually by a lot. And so here's the issue. Fournette isn't a better pass catcher than Giovanni Bernard, and he isn't a better running back than Ronald Jones as far as running the ball. And so I actually think Fournette is going to be phased out of this offense more so than the other two backs are. And Ronald Jones, so he will be 25 going into next offseason. He will be an unrestricted free agent. I think even our projections say 950 yards and like 9 touchdowns. I think his touchdowns can go up to 12, 13 maybe. And if that happens, there's a lot of teams in the league right now that need a good running back. He's young and he's someone who doesn't have a lot of, as we say, wear on the tires. And so it's a little bit off the beaten path, right? And it's actually someone that I've tried to make trades for today. I sent out 8 offers. I heard back from 1 manager. So, I'd like to appreciate my other managers for being active. It's really nice. But Ronald Jones is just the guy to where I think he's in the best situation that no one is willing to talk about, because the offensive line is, if it's not the best in the league, it's the second best in the league. And so just the red zone opportunities alone, I think can propel him to, maybe he's not top 12, maybe he's top 15, but I think he is definitely going to rise in value.
So is that strictly contingent upon a new landing spot?
No, I think he could be in Tampa Bay because the rest of the backs there, Fournette's on a 1-year deal. Giovanni Bernard is on a 1-year deal as well. So if they're going to keep one, I'd assume that it's going to be Ronald Jones. I mean, that would be the smart thing to do. And Tampa Bay actually does really smart things.
I challenge him now, JB. This challenge flag burning a hole in my pocket.
I thought right here, September 7th, 2021, that Mitch was going to make a brave proclamation that in the 2022 season, Ronald Jones would be running the ball for Atlanta, maybe. I mean, is that crazy?
I would love to. That's what every tweet is going to say. It's going to be them or Miami, but I actually think he could just go back to the Buccaneers too.
Okay. Dan, all right, talk about your...
Now, this doesn't even have anything to do with Leonard Fournette, even though I do believe he's better than Ronald Jones. You talk about those red zone carries. Now I'm 0 for 1 on like running backs in a Super Bowl carry. My like flag plant for the next year is that, remember good old Darwin Thompson getting that carry in the 5.
Oh, no.
Like Andy Reid believes in him. But Rojo, I remember getting a carry inside of the 5 in the biggest game of his life and getting stuffed for Tampa Bay. And I was all salty because I needed Fournette to get the carries there. And I think they ended up settling for 3 points. So like he doesn't catch any balls. I had 3 guys I was looking at for this category. And one of them was Damien Harris, but he doesn't get the catches. What's the difference between Damien Harris and Rojo? And I think Harris is even more talented than Rojo. I mean, Rojo's this hard runner, and he's got a roll, and he's good. But I think JB's category was breaking inside the top 12 here, Mitch. And I don't think he could get the receptions to be top 12 if he is even lucky enough to beat out Lombardi Lenny. But they're both free agents. They're both playing for money, if I'm not mistaken. So they're definitely incentivized, and they got a great team around them. So in the conversation, but I throw my flag. I don't think he gets the receptions to get near that.
If you pick a rookie, Dan, I'm going to get upset. I'm just saying. It better not be a rookie.
This is Dynasty, Mitch. This is Dynasty. Why could you not pick a rookie?
The easiest thing in the world is to pick a rookie.
It's not the easiest because of who I picked.
That's a big
because here
we're running back.
Time out. I'm throwing the penalty flag. I'm going from the challenge flag, JB, to the penalty flag tonight. That's 2 flags on Mitchell Sorensen there. So JB brought up where he was on Javonte Williams, his number 2 guy there. And I was big on Trey Sermon, but that would have been the easy choice. I did not pick Trey Sermon here. I picked Mr. Michael Carter, who I wrote on and I think that is a bold take to go into the top 12 next year.
He might not be top 120.
That is bold. I will give you that, Dan. That is a bold take.
So take that back, Mitchell. It's not just any rookie, but Michael Carter, guys. There are a few things in our like staples in our fantasy football research and studying that just stick with me. And there's the Pete Bommarino training that I tell you guys about. And Shefty just sneaks it into like late in his episodes once a year. And Bommarino, for the first time ever, goes, I'm going with a sleeper this year. Normally he gives a veteran. And guys like Tyreek Hill and Allen Robinson work out there. So it's not no like just mom and pop shop training session. I mean, there's some NFL studs that go there. He goes, but my guy is Michael Carter. He goes, his workouts are just off the charts. They're unbelievable. He is my number one guy that I predict has a breakout year. He goes, not only has he got the workout ability, he's just mature beyond his years, the way he acts. Like, he couldn't get any higher praise. And Tevin Coleman and Ty Johnson are not the answers, ladies and gentlemen. And I think that Jets team is building in a good direction. I think Michael Carter has a great opportunity to step up there. Got the intangibles, the things we don't know about these rookies. So if you go back to the tape, before these guys even got drafted, we liked Michael Carter and Kenny Gainwell. You know, we weren't quite sure where they were landed, and it was a little controversial. Michael Carter slide into the fourth, but I think the Jets got a gift.
All right, so since
JB won't trade him, so I'm still mad at you, JB.
Yeah, I got a little snippy because I said in the chat, Mitch, I don't think you're in that league. You might be, but I said, Dan,
I would have Michael Carter if I was in that league.
I said, Dan, you have my best and final offer. And he kept trying to get Michael Carter thrown into the deal. And I said, Dan, you have my best and final offer. And he sent me like 3 counters back to back to back. So in the chat, I said, Dan, if you send me one more counter, it's going to sit. And he said,
I got scolded, Mitch. I stopped sending offers.
That happens.
Because I sent you a very fair offer. But anyway, so I did my cop-out answer. So Javonte Williams, Trey Sermon. What do you guys think about, like, let's say he goes out there and he's top 10 again. I think people will have a very short-term memory here with Josh Jacobs. I think he could get back up there. You don't think? Like, if he does it again?
No. I think people just hate the Raiders that much. I think they have such little faith in that offense. Unless he gets there off 80 catches, then yeah.
Well, yeah.
But if he gets another 33, 34 catches for the year, I don't think so. I think he's going to be the David Montgomery again, to where people just let him slowly keep dropping.
So a better version of Ronald Jones, who's not going to catch 33 balls. Exactly. Actually, no, he will. I think.
Look, if Josh Jacobs got the same touchdowns that he had the previous year, I think there is a chance. But Ronald Jones is actually going to continue to get those touchdowns.
What about Miles Sanders? Do you think that's somebody that, based on, it would take something here in 2021? Like, they can't go out there and fall flat on their face. So Ronald Jones from Mitch. The concern is.
I understand it's a stretch.
I know it. I went with the easy answer and Javonte Williams. And I started in the notes. I said, don't cheat and say Javonte Williams. But then that's who I pick. I had to get it in there. I'm entitled to that because I missed last week's episode. It's my welcome back from vacation. But Ronald Jones, outside of Chubb and Henry, all those guys are not just able to, but actually utilized in the passing game. And then, Dan, you mentioned Michael Carter. It would take a lot, because a lot of people, they are going to look at that draft capital. They are, whether you like it or not, just from a value perspective. So could Michael Carter get in the top 24? Heck yeah. I think that's a possibility, but I can't see a way that he gets into the top 12 and, that 4th round draft capital. It's going to be in the back of people's minds. And for me, it's going to be a little further up, not in the back. It's going to be a little further up, but we spent a lot of time on the running backs there. I like the answers. I think it's good talking points, some good conversation. If you're listening to this, if you're watching on YouTube, drop a running back in the comments after the show, once this posted to the general audience here. If you are on the Patreon, you can watch it live every Tuesday. So looking at wide receivers, Dan, let's get through this one pretty quickly. Are there any wide receivers in the current top 12 that we see plummet in value? So potential Juju situation that kind of get towards 24-ish when we look at January 2022 startups. So the current top 12, and you can say none. So if you want to cop out and say none, but the current top 12, Jefferson, DK, Tyreek, Adams, AJ Brown, Diggs, Lamb, Ridley, Hopkins, Chase, McLaurin, Keenan.
I like that you put in the show notes you could say none, but that wouldn't be any fun. But I still want to keep it realistic. Yeah, I mean, you can make a case that anybody drops out or dives out, but I mean, this list is solid. I would love any of those guys on any of my teams. But if I was to pick one, and it wouldn't be because of talent. We talked about, and I mentioned in past episodes, is the things we don't know about rookies when they come in. And that for me is Jamar Chase. There's that little part of me about Cincinnati Bengals dysfunction coming back, even though I am high on that offense this year. But what if they really didn't do their research? What was the rationale behind him sitting out a year. I understand it's COVID and there's health concerns, and God bless him if, family was an issue or safety or underlying conditions. But what if it was something else? What if the guy just wanted to take a year off? And then what did he do during that year? We saw some social media posts that were a little controversial lately that got taken back. So there's another red flag. He's really off in camp. Is that because his head's not on tight? Is it because he wasn't working like he should have been in the offseason? So there's some concerns there. I mean, if I'm a betting man and I'm betting on talent, I think he's going to be okay. But if there's one guy on the list, it'd be the unknown of Jamar Chase.
I can appreciate that rationale. There were people that not nearly as much hype and not top 12, but Jalen Reagor, he's going to have a phenomenal rookie season, and he just absolutely plummeted. Some people, Henry Ruggs, not as many, but there were those people out there that thought he was going to be a lot better, and he plummeted. So if Jamar Chase falls flat on his face, there was certainly a possibility we look at him in that 20 range, and that's very possible. Mitch, there's a right answer here, and Dan didn't give it, so I'll give it if you can't.
All right. I mean, the cheating one is Hopkins. Hopkins is going to be I'm pretty sure he turns 30 before the season next year. And just dynasty as it is, he's going to jump into the Julio Jones category to where he's going to be better on your team, that he's going to be better traded to anybody else. And in startups, he's just going to slowly drop to where people are going to try to get Keenan or maybe next year's rookies off of him, or just maybe Devontae Smith has a decent season and he moves up ahead of him. But Hopkins is just the guy that's just going to slowly end up dropping. I mean, it might be wide receiver 15 next year. And then in 23, he's wide receiver 28. He could be putting up 100 catch seasons for the next 3 years, but it doesn't matter because his value will slowly drop. But I actually will say, if I had to pick someone that wasn't going to be a 30-year-old wide receiver, it'd be Chase.
Oh, man, you're wrong too. It's Terry McLaurin. Listen, you look at and I hate to do this because I just had to look up when his birthday is. It's next week. So happy early birthday, Terry McLaurin. But I do believe out of this list, and it's kind of by default, Terry McLaurin, he turns 26 next week. So happy early birthday.
What a backhanded happy birthday.
I know. Happy birthday. I hate you. So you're looking at Terry McLaurin. There are question marks at quarterback beyond 2021. Let's say he goes out and just has a decent year. Let's say he's wide receiver 25 on a per game basis. There are guys below him that could leapfrog him. Is 24 too low? Yeah, probably a little bit, even if he is like a wide receiver 3 this year. But wide receiver 20, I think that's more than possible. And I'm looking at the list. Keenan Allen, he's tied to Justin Herbert. He actually saw a spike in value this year, even though he's older. I think Jamar Chase at least maintains a decent amount of value.
He only has to drop 2 spots, though, to be out of it.
I know, but I said out of the top 24, didn't I?
Oh, my bad.
That's all right. That's all right. But DeAndre Hopkins, Mitch, I think you're spot on. That's going to be gradual. Calvin Ridley, we think he's going to have a phenomenal season. Lamb, Diggs, Brown, Adams. What happens if Devontae Adams, let's say, knock on wood, let's say there's an early injury and he happens to be out. And then Aaron Rodgers, well, he's not going to be there after 2021, we think. Is there a chance he slips to that far? Or do you think he is talented enough to have that insulated value? That's the question.
As long as he has a decent quarterback, I think he's talented enough. But who knows what the situation would be. It'll be an interesting one to watch.
Yeah, that's the only other one, like Jefferson, DK, Tyreek, AJ Brown, Diggs. I think they're at least top 16 pretty much no matter what happens this year. No, like I'm saying that is the floor.
I would say the one nice thing for Adams is he is an unrestricted free agent going into next year. So, I mean, they could always franchise him or whatever. But if he's injured, you probably don't see the franchise tag thrown out. And then he is a guy to where like Diggs to where if he goes to another team, I expect him to still be great. I'm not going to discount him because a lot of the wide receivers we see go to new teams are horrible. But it's usually because their team didn't want him anymore, so they let him leave.
We rarely see those high-end players switch teams, especially the wide receiver position. But when we do, they still have success. DeAndre Hopkins, Stephon Diggs. But think about Stephon Diggs' value whenever he got traded to Buffalo. It dropped.
Everyone hated Josh Allen, though.
Most people.
Yeah,
I pounce, baby. Give me Diggs that year. To your point, JB, like the one thing I would say about McLaurin that's different from this group is the quarterback situation. All these guys have elite quarterbacks, and like pretty much Tannehill might be the worst of the best there, and he's still a very solid fantasy quarterback, probably underrated. But McLaurin's relying on a quarterback that's on borrowed time here in the National Football League, so that's a little volatile.
And that's where we start to look at it with the volatility. Think about even Juju, who was seen as the wide receiver 1 overall by many. Well, what's going to happen with Big Ben? So that was a knock. And then he still put up like a top 20 season, and he slides. He's 25 years old, 24 years old. So that quarterback question mark is, I think, the biggest factor. Michael Thomas, he dropped from the wide receiver 1 to like 10 to 12. Because of, what's going to happen with Drew Brees? Now the other stuff happens, so he drops even more. So there's a lot of interesting things there with the wide receiver position, but just something I thought was fun and interesting to talk about with both the running backs and wide receivers from a different perspective. Dan, quarterback. Which quarterback is most likely to be top 6 in January 2022 for dynasty purposes that is currently outside of the top 12? To run through the list: Mahomes, Allen, Murray, Lamar, Herbert, Dak, Lawrence, Russ, Burrow. Oh my gosh, I needed to take a breath there. Russ, Burrow, Lance, Fields, Rodgers. Who can get into the top 6 outside of that group? And there's one cop-out answer here, I think.
I have 3 guys that are capable. One, Mitch is going to yell at me for, and I'm going to save him for last. The cop-out answer is Jalen Hurts. I think scrambling quarterback.
Good answer.
I think he is very capable. I think if all the chips fell right, Matthew Stafford with the Rams in that offense, if he just blew up, I don't believe it, JB, but I'm just saying when I went outside of the top 12, I really struggled to find anybody that could be top 6. Hurts, because of a running quarterback, would probably be my number 1. Stafford, if everything fell his way, and then you guys know I'm on the Tua train in Miami. I just see a very explosive offense and a former first-round pick. I love Tua, man. So Tua or Hurts would be my main ones, and then Stafford would be like the long shot, 500 to 1 odds. I don't see anyone else having a chance.
Mitch, who's the cop-out answer?
Trey Lance.
No, he's in there already.
Is he all right?
Yeah, Fields, Rodgers.
Yeah, notice. Sorry, I did see his name on there. I looked. I'm like, oh, everyone's going to mention Lance.
No, I think the cop-out answer is Deshaun Watson. Let's say everything plays out and nothing happens from a discipline standpoint. True. He's right back up there. Man, I thought one of you was going to say Deshaun Watson. All right, so Mitch, who do you got? Was it Trey Lance?
No, I think Dan is right. These 12 are pretty set. I mean, I think it's really hard to see them drop. I can see Rodgers drop out because of his age, right? But the others are really hard for me to see. So the one that I'm just going to throw a dart out there again, I mentioned him earlier, it's Sam Darnold, just because of the age and the offense. Do I think it's going to happen? No. Do I think there's a 5% chance? Probably not, but maybe there's a 3% chance that it happens. You know what I mean? It's hard because all the good rushing quarterbacks are already ranked there. And so you're going to have to pick a pocket passer that has such a high touchdown rate that you think could keep going into multiple years. And so I'm just like, maybe Matt Rule can change that Panthers offense in a way to where it's going to take a couple years for NFL defenses to catch up. That's my miracle shot.
Yeah, I mean, I like Darnold. I like Tua overall, but from a value standpoint, I don't see a way unless they go off the charts this year.
Right. Yeah.
Like you look at it, but Mahomes, Allen, Murray, Lamar, Herbert, Dak in that top 6, they're all very they can move. Mm-hmm. They're mobile quarterbacks that, but at this time last year, was Herbert thought of as a potential top 6 quarterback? Not by many, not by me, not after 1 year. So there's certainly players. I think the big one, and I've knocked him all season, not all off season. Jalen Hurts has the chance.
Yes,
he needs the production, and he needs that team to win. If they have a bad year, he's done. I can't see him being the quarterback beyond 2021 if they go out in their top 5 pick. That's just me personally, but he has the chance. If he goes out there, he's a top 3 quarterback. They go 11-6. Yeah. Now we're talking. And my trade of Jalen Hurts for Tom Brady looks awful. and I delete it from the records. I delete my tweet. I cut that part out of the episode, and nobody will ever know. So the other one I thought, and this makes me sick a little bit, and Dan's really going to like it. This is not even a 3% chance, like 0.3%, but Zach Wilson. Like, let's say he is that good. Oh, Dan is grinning ear to ear, but he's kind of in that boat of value heading into the rookie year that Justin Herbert had. Maybe a little bit higher for Herbert, but in rookie draft slipping at 107, 108, 109. Can they turn things around as fast as we would like in New York? They already started the process. I think they put some nice pieces around him. So if he goes out there and he is a top 8 quarterback this year, I think he's going to catapult up the rankings. He can still move. He's not a rushing quarterback per se, but he can move. And that's what differentiates him from players even like Tua, who I love, but I don't think he has the rushing upside necessarily that is going to get him the necessary value bump in most people's eyes. And then Sam Darnold, I love you, Mitch, but I know. It's a miracle shot, man.
With all these names, there's no flag plants here. It's like if everything goes right, like a Tua, a Stafford, or Darnold, it just means all those weapons hit. You're looking at a 4,000-yard passer with a ton of touchdowns. The team exceeded expectations. Everything really goes right.
Better be over 4,000 yards with the extra game and no rushing upside. There better be a
really MVP talk plus, too.
Plus.
I mean, if the guys are going to move up that far, they're going to be in the MVP consideration for the year.
Yeah, and that tells you a Terrence Marshall took off and Elijah Moore took off. Those certain things have to happen.
Terrace Marshall.
My bad.
We're going to get that right one day. We're going to get that right. And then I've talked about Mack Jones, but there's no way I would be shocked to even see him sniff top 12. Like, even if everything goes right, he's that prototype of a quarterback that fantasy people just don't like. And for dynasty purposes, I don't think he's going to even sniff top 12. So I love Mack. Hopefully I'm proven wrong. All right, so let's wrap it up really quickly with tight ends. And this is going to be a quick answer. Mitch, based on the production that you're expecting in 2021, in January startups, tight end premium, 2 PPR, where does Kyle Pitts go?
Tight end 1.
What'd you say?
Tight end 1.
No, he said it so fast. I was like,
sorry.
Well, no, but across the landscape, everybody.
So like what spot in startups? Okay, 105, 106.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
All right. I thought the way you phrased the question, you just wanted to know where I was considering him as far as tight ends go. But it was already tight end 1. But.
Yeah, it was questionable, but I'm thinking about it like there's leagues we've seen Kelsey go 103, 104 this year.
Yeah,
at the age of 30, 31. He could go 103, but based on expected production, I feel comfortable with that ballpark 105, 106 because you're still going to get those quarterbacks going ahead of him. I think we could see a situation where there's no running backs in like the top, maybe even a first round in super flex tight end premium leagues. Dan, what are your thoughts here?
Same with Mitch as far as the startup value. I have him as kind of a tight end 3. I think Kelsey goes ham again this year. I think Kittle goes off again this year is to me the best tight end in the game. I'm really high hopes on Kittle. Waller, I think still awesome. I'm just a little more interested with, does Ruggs get a bit better? Does Edwards get a little bit better? But the O-line gets a little bit worse. I'm just kind of seeing where he falls. But I really do see Kyle Pitts in that Julio role and only getting better.
Yeah, so 105, 106 seems to be the general consensus here. I mean, hell, I'm sure we might even see some 101s. If he goes out there and he's like a top 5 tight end this year, we'll see some 101s in 2 PPR. All right, Mitch, do you even care about this one? Is Evan Ingram a top 24 dynasty tight end this time next year?
Sure, but I don't care. I think he's not going to be top 15. He might be top 24, but that's cool.
Yeah, this goes hand in hand with one of my value misses, and I'm looking at all my Evan Ingram shares, and I'm like, please, somebody overpay. So if you're listening to this, throw me a nice offer. Throw me a bone here. And then we'll just skip past Evan Ingram to you, Dan. Pat Freiermuth, Could he sniff top 12 dynasty tight end this time next year?
Top 12.
Based on your expected production, what they do with Eric Ebron after 2021, can he be there?
I'm going to say no based on production. I do think Ingram, he will become ultimately the man, but I think Tommy Tremble is going to be better than Pat Freiermuth.
Oh, God.
And I'm willing to bet you, JB. I'm willing to bet you.
Ooh, I like that. We'll throw something in the Discord because we have the betting channel. Yeah, but I need something to, as Dan says, to call mom and say, hey, I won some money off of Dan. So maybe charity and some for my wallet, which is a charity in itself. Yeah. All right. So Tommy Tremble. Oh my God, I gotta go vomit, I think.
Guys, I'm just gonna throw it in there really quick. Another one of Bommarino's gems, man. Love Tommy Tremble. Now, this goes back to me watching film on Tommy Tremble at Notre Dame. He was a beast. And I says, this guy is a football player. I'd love to have him. I just don't know about fantasy production as a wide receiver. But I'm starting to believe Notre Dame just didn't utilize him as much as they could have. Carolina takes him in the third round, high third round. Okay, there's some pedigree here. There's some draft capital, some investment. Bommarino says, we could not believe how he ran routes at our camp and in our training facility. He goes, this guy could play, and he predicted him. Now, I don't think he's a big fantasy guy because I don't think he was thinking Kyle Pitts at the time he made the statement, but he goes, he believes he could be the best receiving tight end rookie this year.
Well, then we have to listen to Mr. Barbarino.
Darnold, top 6 quarterbacks, all that I'm hearing right now. I like it.
And do we really believe in Dan Arnold? Like Dan Arnold's going to make some plays this year, but he has butterfingers sometimes. I think consistency is an issue with Dan Arnold. And I think they're going to want Tremble in there to block because he's one of the best blocking rookie. He probably was the best blocking rookie to come out. The guy is nasty, JB. He is a nasty football player. And I think we're starting to find out he could catch and run routes. I saw him score a touchdown from some preseason hype videos there.
Well, I don't know about you guys. I don't know about our listeners. I'm not in any point per block or pancake league. So Tommy Tremble, I'm not sure if I'm in there.
Final thoughts.
Dan, we got to get you out of here. 133 episodes in, last episode of the offseason here, heading into the regular season, week 1, finally. Last episode of Hard Knocks. So, Dan, you got to watch your Cowboys, but give our listeners a final thought here.
Yeah, man. Hey, listeners, take my advice. It's Tremble over Freiermuth. That's my ultimate flag plant for tonight's show. JB and I will be betting on the Discord. We talked about it in the show. I think the only thing left in my studies this week and JB's as he's trying to get some more information for the listeners is that wide receiver DB matchups. We've spent the offseason. If you hop in our Discord, we're happy to talk about O-line, defenses, things we normally don't talk about, week 1 preparation. And I also say don't lose your roster depth. We saw 80,000 people at college football games, pro players going to the college football games. COVID is Tom Brady saying it's more of a concern than it was last year. Cowboys are already out their best lineman, most likely week 1. Don't lose your roster depth if you're competing there. And look forward to seeing more on the Discord. And good luck to everybody in week 1.
Don't bounce yet. Don't bounce yet. Don't bounce yet. All right, Mitch, final thought for our listener.
My final thought. I'll make it quick. I know Dan wants to get out of here, but I will say the most overused term in Dynasty right now is alpha wide receivers. There's 5 alpha wide receivers in the NFL right now. You have DK Metcalf, Hill, Adams, AJ Brown, and Hopkins. That's it. There's no more after that can't be replaced by someone else going into that offense. Like, I love how wide receiver 2s are now all of a sudden alphas because they were like kind of the starting wide receiver for a team at some point. Like, there's 5. That's why they're alphas, just like there's 5 really good running backs in the league. I mean, that's just how it is. Sorry. That's all I have.
I feel like that's been brewing. Mitch heard somebody say it or saw a tweet, and he's like, I got to bring this up. All right, we want to thank everybody for tuning in. Follow the show on Twitter, Instagram, at Dynasty Theory FF. Remember, the Patreon, $5 a month. If you join over the next week, we'll give you September free just to give a little test run. Check it out. If you don't like it, bounce. For Mitch Sorensen, Dan Lamagna, I'm John Bauer. Hopefully everybody has a fantastic week 1. We'll see you next week.